We all know the story of the first Spinjitzu master. It's one of the main fundamental parts of Ninjago alongside things like Spinjitzu. Everyone knows what happened before time had a name. And over the course of the years Ninjago has run for, this story has changed a little bit. It went from the first Spinjitzu master simply existing and then creating Ninjago with the first 4 golden weapons and then eventually defeating the Overlord and splitting Ninjago in half, to the first Spinjitzu master actually coming from somewhere, and that would be the first realm, the realm of the Oni and Dragon. It actually makes the story more clear because now the first Spinjitzu master has a origin of creation. He didn't just exist. Now most recently, with Seabound, we got a new addition to the story, somewhere in between the creation of the first Spinjitzu master and coming to Ninjago and actually making Ninjago. That's what today's video is about, because the whole story that we've known for more than 10 years now of how the first Spinjitzu master created Ninjago is fake, because he didn't make Ninjago. He made just Ninjago, and right now this doesn't make sense. That line was completely crazy, but it will in just a bit. So in the middle, we got the story of Wojira, and this again fills the gap between the first Spinjitzu master traveling from the first realm to Ninjago. It's right before he actually made Ninjago. But here's where the story gets a little weird, because according to Benthamar and the story of Wojira, he words it in a way that the first Spinjitzu master arrived in Ninjago and he noticed the chaos, meaning that Ninjago actually existed before the first Spinjitzu master came in. I always thought it was more of empty space and then he kind of made the planet. So it looks like Ninjago was a water planet. It was filled with storms, kind of like Neptune in our own solar system, and it was made of water and wind. Eventually, when Wojira was defeated, he was able to make the Ninjago Islands after that using the 4 golden weapons, presumably. But what does this tell us? That means that Ninjago was not made by the first Spinjitzu master. Who possibly would have made it then? I don't think people actually make realms. There's 16 of them and a little less now, but they've always been there. So the first Spinjitzu master after Wojira was defeated just made the lands of Ninjago. And that makes so much sense, because the 4 golden weapons, fire, ice, earth, and lightning, those only really make up the mountains and the skies and the heat of Ninjago. Nobody ever explained how the oceans were made. They've been there from the start, but the story of the first Spinjitzu master never actually made sense back then, because how do you make oceans with the shurikens of ice or the scythe of quakes? Obviously you can melt the ice maybe with the sword of fire, but I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. This means the fact that we originally thought there were only 4 elements of creation is wrong, because there are 6 elements that make up Ninjago: wind, water, fire, ice, earth, and lightning. We always thought water was one of those sub-elements that weren't really important to Ninjago, but it is, because that is what Ninjago is also made up of, just not what the first Spinjitzu master made. There is a theory that Wojira made Ninjago because Wojira is the only spirit that is able to harness water and wind, the only 2 elements that make Ninjago the first Spinjitzu master couldn't control. And that actually makes a lot of sense, because Ninjago back then was only made up of water and storm. And remember, wind kind of goes into the storm category according to Master Wu's little explanation of how water and wind are completely separate, because those are harnessed by Wojira, and Wojira could have possibly made Ninjago, or Wojira is a product of the storms. It could really go either way, but in the end, the first Spinjitzu master didn't actually make the realm of Ninjago. He just made the land and everything that's connected to the golden weapons. And I also learned that there are not only 4 elements of creation, but instead 6, wind and water actually being a lot more important than I thought they were. Comment down below if you realized this a little bit earlier. Maybe I just realized this a little late and most of you might have figured it out already. Nonetheless, this was a really interesting video and a huge contradiction to what we've known so far. Thank you for watching a first Spinjitzu master related video, and as usual, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.